Hi, I'm Hannah Boissonneault, and I'm the singer-songwriter and creator behind the project Feels Like Honey. I'm super excited to be talking about my debut record with you. It's called All Things Endless, and it came out this past October. All Things Endless is an 11-track dreamscape record that falls between the musical styles of indie rock and indie pop, with a little bit of classical influence as well. The instrumentation throughout the record has this backbone layer of bass, guitar, drums, and vocals to kind of layer everything together. But I also have instrumentations including violin, viola, cello, flute, clarinet, bass clarinet, vibraphone, and also piano. The record is really like a musical time capsule for me. I really explored a lot of different events in my life that I wasn't really aware that I was still holding on to, and in the process of writing songs about them, I was able to let them go. And so the record is really just this overall exploration of the feeling of release, of relief after letting go of something that we've been kind of holding on to and carrying throughout our lives. So I've been writing music for a really long time. I actually got my undergrad and my master's in music composition, so I've been writing music for a while, but this record was actually the first time that I was able to really pinpoint my writing process. And so I always like to say that this record was just me exploring my writing process and refining it. And so for me, that process is really improvisatory, I've learned. I love to start off on instruments that I'm not as comfortable with as my main instruments. My main instruments are bass and singing, and so usually what I do when I first start writing songs is I like to start with the guitar or the piano and improvise within a DAW. So I usually will start with a lot of different effects, a lot of different ideas, and kind of layering these fragments together. So a lot of these songs actually originated from these 2-minute voice memos. I can trace every single song back to a single improvisation that's usually on a voice memo on my phone, and a lot of the time the structure of the song doesn't change. So typically, like, my improvisatory process is usually the main structure, the backbone of the song, and then from there I go and refine and add layers. And so typically the writing process is pretty short. It's the arranging process that takes a lot longer for me. I love having really, really dense, full layers in my songs, and that was something that I had to kind of learn to play around with, because at first I was like, I want to add all these layers and have 400 tracks, and a lot of things could get easily drowned out in that way. So I had to learn how to take away certain layers in my writing process. But yeah, the arranging process actually was the bulk of my writing process, and then from there I also added lyrics after I did the instrumentals. So instrumentals for me usually came first, and so I would usually start with guitar, bass, and drums as my forefront, and then I would add in instrumental layers from there. So the classical instrumentalists that I work with were really amazing. A lot of them really love to improvise too, so I gave them sort of frameworks for what I was looking for when it came to chord structure or the song structure or where I wanted them to play certain things, and then they got to do their own thing with it. So it was really, really fun and amazing, and I loved working with them. When it came to writing the lyrics for my record, there were a couple different metaphors that found their way back into my writing, both unintentionally and intentionally. So when I started noticing these metaphors pop up again and again, I was like, oh, there's a theme here. But these metaphors were the overall idea of nature and then also water. I'm really interested in the idea of how nature and humanity are really connected, and how there's a lot of different growth and change that can occur. So I was really exploring these references and relating them back to my experience with letting go and release, and the exploration that I was doing with the lyrics. So in regards to the recording process, most of this record is recorded at home. It's a bedroom recorded record. However, there's some of it that we did do in the studio. So the first song that I ever wrote for the record was Feels Like Honey. It was the first single that I'd ever released for the project, and that was recorded in 2019 and released in early 2020. So I learned a lot of lessons from recording in the studio, and it was so amazing and great. But I realized that because of the pandemic, and especially because of the fact that a lot of the instrumentalists that I did want to work with were across the country, I wanted to learn how to engineer myself and record at home. So everything on the record that is not drums was all engineered and recorded by me, and then also my friends that were involved in playing different instruments had recorded on their own home setup, and they sent over recordings from there. So this was an awesome learning experience for me because previously to writing and recording this record, I had never self-engineered anything besides my own bass. So learning how to engineer my own vocals was really exciting because when it comes to having 50 to 90 tracks on a given song, it's super important to be able to engineer them correctly, and that was a big learning process that I learned, and very thankful for my mixing and mastering engineer Mike Martinson, who was able to take these bedroom recordings and make them sound amazing. So it was really awesome to be able to record at home and how to learn that process. I've gotten to work with some really amazing people throughout this process who really brought the record to life for me. So that includes instrumentalists that were involved on playing with the tracks, that includes co-writers to some of the songs, and that also includes mixing and mastering engineers, as well as tracking engineers who kind of brought all this thing together. One of the main collaborators on the record was Grayson Jarvis. He's an instrumentalist and composer, and we both co-wrote the song All the Flowers together, and we're currently actually writing a collaborative record together as well that we're really excited to keep exploring and share with the world soon. But working with him was amazing. He also featured on Ghosts, he featured on Videotape, and we co-wrote All the Flowers together. There are a lot of other amazing instrumentalists who were involved in the creation of the record. So the Feels Like Honey track that was recorded back in 2019 features Amanda Bonet on the violin, Daniela Diaz on the violin, Alexis Berry on the viola, Joshua DeVries on the cello, Jiwoon Choi on the flute, Ali Cezelis on the clarinet, and Nicholas Chard on the drums. And for the rest of the record, all of the instrumentalists who made an amazing contribution to all of the rest of the tracks were Amanda Bonet on the violin, Mason Spencer on the viola, Christina George on the flute, Ford Forquerine on the bass clarinet and the clarinet, Danielle Gonzalez on the vibraphone, Andrew Hewitt on the piano, John Vocal on the guitar, and Jacob Perry on the drums. For mixing and mastering, I got to work with the amazing Michael Martinson, who I've been working with since I was 15. He's amazing, and it's been such a privilege to be able to work with him on this record and bringing it to life. I also worked with Corey DeRusha at Troubadour Recording Studios for the creation of the Feels Like Honey track, and then also he recorded the drums with Jacob and I, so it was a really amazing experience to work with them. I'm so thankful for everybody who inspired me to finish and write this record. I'm really thankful for John Vocal, my partner. I'm super thankful for my parents and my family for supporting me, and I'm also really thankful for all the mentors that inspired me and taught me all of these amazing skills along the way. Thanks so much to MusicOTFuture TV for having me.